and I hope your morning is well, wherever you are. Today, I want to take you through QuickTalk Real Estate Management Solution or the Real Estate Property Management Solution. I will talk about the key features of QuickTalk Real Management Solution. Some of the key features I'm going to talk about includes tenant, landlord, property information, reminders, automated billing of invoices to tenants, tenant statements, customized landlord, property, tenants, and supplier aging statement, some of the financial accounting statement that you can get from QuickTalk. I will also guide on how the user management is managed in QuickTalk and also how the update can be done. Today I will not talk about the installation procedure. I will put that one in a different video. So what is QuickTalk Real Management Solution Manager? So the QuickTalk Real Estate Management Solution is a fully fledged rental property management software that basically builds in all the aspects of property management or real estate management with automated and accurate transactions in steps. So other features that it has include document management for storing and manipulating photos. Like you can scan the documents of your property and tenants. You can email them the invoices, the receipts, the statements, and also receive payment from M-Pesa, and it tracks their payments. So basically it is managing your property. So the cutting feature of QuickTalk Real Estate is that it does all the financial accountings in the background, and then you can do the reconciliation whereby QuickTalk Real Estate Solutions Manager will act as your cash book, and then you can have your bank statement and do reconciliation. And I'm going to take you through all that. So just to log in, it has the default username, that is admin, and the default password is also admin. You can decide to save this username and password so that next time you don't need to log in, but since it is a financial system which can be networked, it's prudent that you just don't save them. But if you are a single user, you can save them for some purposes. So when you log in, this is like your dashboard that you'll see. Of course, my number is up here where you see you can get also other products. So some of the menus that we have are like file, where you can switch a user. You can check the user counts. You can change your password, your username. You can also set up the users. Like I have the first user as admin, but when it is in a network where all the duties have been separated, then you maybe want to create more than one user. Then the next one is how to backup, how to do your backup of the database. You can do it on the cloud or on another device. Then you realize that you have made an error and you want to restore your database. Then you just do the restoration and you pick where you saved your database. Then you can close all the forms, like it will close all the open forms. Then you can also exit the system. So some of the buttons you can see here are like the lettings. Of course, I have a default letting that are done. Lettings are just like the tenants that you have already let in the system. Then we also have the units that you have. We have the properties that you have. You have the landlords, you have the suppliers, the employees, and the payroll. Of course, QuickTalk Real Estate Solution Manager comes with an inbuilt payroll system that you can use to track your payroll. In a situation where you have employees working for you and you want to do their payroll system. QuickTalk Real Estate Solution Manager can also work on a network. Therefore, I will give all that explanation on how to set it up on a network and all that. So those are like your buttons on your left. Of course, I could close all those forms by just closing all the forms, so you can just close them. So we have the company. You have the company info, the chart of accounts, the employee, the items or the inventory. You have the item list, which these are just like, these are the revenue items. You have the class of transactions that the system can be dealing with. Of course, the system has the income side and the expense side. So you need to classify your transactions the way you would want them. Then we have this list that can give you other clients, schedule, taxations, and title. Then company user role. This is basically the user management. You'll be able to set which modules are accessible to which type of user. Like in the landlord modules, who can access it? Property module. So this is a scenario whereby you have so many users accessing the system at the same time, or it is basically your control of users within the system. Then we also have how to remit VAT. Of course, you have landlords who are under VAT. You have the company VAT also. You can do the remittance here. Then we have the automated transaction. I'd earlier talked about the fact that QuickTalk Real Estate Management System automates transactions like the invoices to the tenants, the commissions. So you can, after the first letting or after the first letting of the units, then the subsequent months you can just automate the invoice and it does the process on its own. Then we have the unpaid invoices. This will tell you how many invoices are still pending. Of course, it will take time if you have so many tenants. Then you have the company property. I'm going to explain a few terms before we proceed. Then, of course, the statement can show you all the properties statement. Then we have the tenants and the landlords, so your clients. So you have the tenants on waiting. These are basically like, this could be like your bookings. Then you can create a new tenant straight away. You can create a quotation to a tenant. Maybe a tenant has come to inquire how do you charge your property and all that. You can create a direct invoice. You can receive payment. You can do a credit memo if you made an error in your financial transaction, basically the invoices. You can also refund the tenant if there's any overpayment at the point of vacating the tenant or at the point of letting, maybe they overpaid. Then you can see all the transactions that you have done on tenants, like the quotations, the invoices, the memos, the refunds, the payments, and all that. You can view the tenant statement. You can view the summary statement. You can check your defaulters lists, depending on that. You can check your tenant invoices. You can check your landlord transactions, landlord statements, reports. You can remit funds, landlord advances, new landlord. Then you can also do your utility. Basically, utility is like where you have the units or the property connected to like a DSTV where they pay it separately from the rent. You have water being paid separately from the rent. You have Wi-Fi being paid separately from the rent. So you could track all that, because in most scenarios you find that the tenants don't get involved directly with the service provider. For example, if the Wi-Fi is being provided by the Safaricom, it's normally either the agent or the real estate owners who get into a contract with Safaricom. So if you want to track how your tenants pay for those who have requested for that service in their property or in their units, then you can do that. Of course, when you do that, it is like an invoice, a bill to them, they'll have to pay, so there's utility. Then there are also memos that are due refunds you want, just to see how many refunds. Then we also have the expense side of QuickTalk Real Estate Management, where you can do a purchase order to a supplier, maybe for a repair. You can receive items from a supplier. You can receive a bill, then you pay the bill. You can also make a direct purchase from a supplier. Maybe you've just gone to purchase a bulb. Then you can do a debit note. If there was a purchase that was wrongly done, you refund. Of course, you refund after doing the debit note on a expense that had been paid. Then you can check the supply statement, their transactions, then you can add a new supplier. Under banking, you can do a bank transfer. Of course, as I had earlier explained, QuickTalk Real Estate Management Solution will act as your cash book. And then you have the actual bank account. They are not linked. That is for security purposes. But once you've done your bank transaction in the bank, then you can come and reflect them here. Like I've collected 20,000, that is what has been remitted to me. And I've taken this money from my till and I've taken them to the bank. You can do a bank transfer. Or in scenarios where you have just done an actual bank transfer and you want it reflected on your cash book, which is the system, you do that. Then you can do a bank reconciliation, which is normally done at the end of the month. You reconcile your cash book and your bank. Of course, you can see the checks that you've written, the bank reconciliation. You can check your bank accounts. You can check your statements, any service funds. Then, of course, there's the employee. This is basically the inbuilt payroll. Under tools, you can look at the memorized templates like the tenants memorized and the supplier memorized. Memorized templates are basically invoices that recur. So the system basically memorizes them in the background so that you don't need to do the same process. You only run the automated process and the same process is repeated. Of course, a calculator. You can see the list of your property types, the auctioneers, if you also want to engage auctioneers in case of rent defaults, late payments. You can check inspection notes, like I need to repair the walls, I need to do the payment. If you have the sub-agents who are also helping the agents, then you can check that. Then you can check the bookings, who have booked the units. Then, then you can have the notes and the comments on every unit. What do you need the follow-up to be done on the landlord? You can just do, these are just notes, these are reminders. Then you can have a reminder list, like when is the rent due and all that. You can import data. So in a scenario where you already have your data and you are installing QuickTalk Real Estate Management Solution for the first time, then the real estate management system will provide you with a template, and you'll use the template and it will import your data from your Excel into the system so that you don't have to physically input the data again. Then of course we have the reports. All of them are here and you can check all the reports that your financial reports that you require. Then you have the help, you will have the user manual, which is basically a detailed version of my video that I'm doing. So it will show you how do you back up, how do you edit your company, how do you create your landlord, how do you create all this, how do you edit tax rates, how do you install it, invoice, letting, making, all the procedures that I'm going to talk about, and you'll be able to do that in a nutshell. So before I start the process, I just want us to look at some of the terms that we would know. So we have the term the landlord. So who is a landlord, for example? A landlord is basically the owner of the rental property, be it land, be it a building, be it a flat. So he provides the property to the agent for maintenance and real management. So it is the landlord who gives the agent the property to manage for them. So a landlord can be an individual, or it can be a corporate like a circle that has a property or that. Then we have the properties or the property. So this is basically the asset which is under the management of the agent. So it can be a land, it can be a single building, it can be just one unit, or it can be a combination of houses or building. and rooms that are identified by one name or title. So for example, I called mine the case flats. You see, so the case flats can have several units or it can be one. So this can also be a revenue center, or it can hold several revenue centers in the name of a unit. So what is a unit? Basically, a unit is the smallest portion of the property that is lettable or you can sell. So basically, a unit is the revenue center. It is the actual revenue center. So even if you have a property with one unit, at the end of the day, it is the unit that will let. So it is the tenant will basically occupy a unit. So even if he is one tenant occupying several units in one property, this is the smallest portion that will be captured. Then who is a tenant? A tenant is a person who's a company who takes the lease of a unit under the management of the agent. So there are some graphics that I will later show, but they are there in the manual so one can go through them. So a landlord can provide several property. A property can be a unit or can have several units. A tenant is the one who occupies the unit. So tenants are the ones we are calling the lettings. So like here we have this tenant called William Tieno. So who is an agent or the company? So an agent is like the person who undertakes the management and the leasing of the property provided by the landlord. So the agent is the owner of this software. So you can have different types of management agents. You have agent A, who are real estate manage B, and all that. So basically this software is managed by the agent. Then we have the commissions. So commissions is basically the amount charged by the agent to the landlord for the management services provided of the property. So we have two types of commissions. We have the management commission and the collection commission. Management commission is as long as a unit has been given to the agent to let and to manage, then they are viable for this management commission if it is an agreement with them. The unit may not be rented or not, but as long as you are managing it, you are liable for the management commission. Then we have the collection commission. So this is commission charged when the agent collects rent on behalf of the landlord and remits it to the same landlord. So you'll realize later that when you come to receive payment, for example, you'll realize you can receive it, the landlord can receive it directly, or if you don't take this, then it means the agent is receiving the tenant's money on behalf of the landlord. And in that case, if they had agreed on a commission, then the collection commission will apply. So some landlords may provide the two commission, others may decide that it is the collection commission that is granted. So, but with the experience, they provide the two. So there are also some graphics that are shown in my written user manual. So an invoice is a term that is basically recognized income drawn by the supplier to the customer. In this case, the supplier is to the supplier it is an invoice, while to the customer it is a bill. So an example is invoice drawn by the agent on behalf of the landlord requesting payment for rent. So to the landlord, it is like an invoice. To the customer, it is a bill due for payment. Then we also have receipt of payment. So this is basically against a pending invoices. So the invoice will remain pending if the amount received are less than the invoice amount. So in a case where the invoice was 10,000 and the tenant has only paid 8,000, then in that case the pending invoice is 8,000. So receipt of payment is basically, it will list for you the invoices that are due from this tenant and it will show. Then we can also talk about a bill. So a bill is basically a transaction that recognizes expenses. You could see receive bill. So a bill in real estate, in QuickTalk Real Estate Management Solution is under the relevant parties transaction. For example, the agent will record a bill of a property on behalf of the landlord. So in this case, the landlord is the customer to the agent. So these bills will remain pending to the landlord in that case, who is now the supplier. Then bills payment is basically clearing the bills. Then we can have active and inactive records. Like once you let a tenant, for example, like here is the tenant becomes active. But once the tenant is vacated, they become inactive automatically. So from the units you can see you can vacate. So when you vacate, the tenant becomes inactive. However, you can still receive payments from this tenant if they had any dues left at the time of vacating the tenant. Then we also have things like legal fees, letting fees. So some agents charge tenants a certain amount, which may be a percentage of the unit rent at the time of signing up a lease agreement. So you remember when you'll realize that at the time of letting, the agent may charge some commission or some money, and that is what you call the letting fee. So it can be a percentage or it can be an absolute amount charged. Then of course we have the deposits, that is what is paid at the rental time. So those are basically some of the terms I wanted us to get up to. So once you start the real estate manager, there are the procedures that will follow in a logical manner. So the first thing you need to do before you do anything to the QuickTalk Real Estate Manager is to create your company info or the agent info. It will come with a default. You just go to company info. You will find a default. Of course, this is a QuickTalk Solutions company. So you can just edit it and maybe call it Galana Apartments. Then you can just highlight, copy, paste there. Then you give it your company official, maybe Galana Apartment Suites. Then you give your PIN number if you are registered for tax, of course, your financial year date. Then you put your logo. You can pick your logo from anywhere. So I'll choose that logo. If you have your specific logo, you can do that. Reset database is basically setting up your QuickTalk Real Estate Manager to work on either one or several computers. So this we'll talk about later. Then you give it your physical address, your email address, your website, your contact telephone number, your email setting. So this is the email address that will be sending to the tenants or to the landlord any information. So this is if you click the next tab, which is called other information, you need to be very careful about this part. So the management commission, which I just talked about, that is as long as the unit is being managed by the tenant, then you can do that. So it can be a percentage, or if you uncheck that, then it is an absolute amount of maybe 200. But if you do a check, you'll realize that it won't pass 100%. So the management commission, let's say it is 10%. Rent collection commission, I can say maybe it is 5%. Then you have the letting fee. If there is any letting fee charged, then you can put the amount or you can put a percent. So let me say the guy, you are only charging 2%. Do you have a late payment interest? If you have, you put the percentage. If you don't, put 0. So do you have a prorate late payment. So prorate late payment is like if the payment is late for how many days is when you'll charge the penalty. Maybe if it is late for 10 days, it is so you can have like after 10 days you are charging a certain amount, after 5 days you are also charging amount. Then you decide, are you charging the tenant the letting fee or you are charging it to the landlord? If you're charging it to the tenant, then it is the tenant who will pay the letting fee. If you're charging the landlord, and basically that invoice will go to the landlord and it will not be due to the tenant. Then we have reminder defaults. These ones you can leave as default the way they are, but you'd want to show the reminders to everyone. This everyone means every user that is in the system in a scenario where you're using several systems. Then you want the system to post automated transaction, you take that. Then you want your invoice to come maybe before a particular day. So let's say, for example, the rent is due on the 5th of every month, but you want that by 1st, the system should be able to calculate all these invoices. You set the number of days. Then there's show report headers. Basically, you can find that an agent management company already have their set letterheads that they want to use. So they'll basically uncheck this. Then when the system prints the reports, then it will basically ignore the letterhead and print theirs. I can just give an example of show report. If I take it, for example, and you come to print the tenant statement, I'll pick the first tenant there. It's taking. So you'll see all the reports of QuickTalk solution already has this that is customized by the system. But in a scenario where you have your preset letterhead, then you can decide to uncheck this, and then when you save, set the penalty amount. I think I didn't set, so let me just uncheck that. So if I save that, then you can come to tenant statement. I didn't do it, sorry about that. So let me just uncheck that. So when I uncheck that and check the tenant statement, it should now not have the header. So the blank part means it will pick the letterhead from the letter that is provided by the company. So for now I'll just give it to have the letterhead for the video purposes. Then we have the bills payment. I talked about the utility. So if you check this, then it means you have some utilities that you want to track, like the Wi-Fi, the DSTV, and therefore the system will give you the chance to input them. If you uncheck, then it means you don't track them. Then when you are receiving payment, you can decide to lock the date of receipt of payment so that it picks the system date, or you can decide to unlock it so that someone basically inputs the date that the money was received. Then you can decide to pay older invoices first, so the system will list the invoices based from the old one to the new, or you can decide to uncheck it. You can decide to auto post the invoices, the management fee, or leave there. But still, if you don't uncheck them, the system will give you the leeway to do that. So let's just save our company. So basically that is how you set your company information. The next thing before you start using the system is to create your chart of account. So the system will come with the preset accounts. So you can just decide. So you have the fixed asset. If you have any assets that you want to track, you have the current assets. Then you have your long-term liability for loans or anything. So these ones are already preset. You can decide to leave them the way they are or create a new one. For example, you can decide to create your actual bank account here. For most of these, you can just leave them because the system already have all the accounts that you want. So if you want to create a new bank account, you can either delete this or you just decide to edit. So you can edit to your specific account that you are operating so that you are sure that it is the one you are operating and that. Or if you want to create a new one, you just go to which type of account that you want to create. Maybe it is a bank, is it a landlord bank account or that. Then you save. Then the next thing that you need to create is to create the revenue items that you track. So that is under items list. Of course, the system again will come with the preset one. You can decide to delete the ones you don't want, or you can leave them the way they are. So you have like the rent. There are some that you can't delete because they are used. So there's the rent collection, that is your revenue item. You have garbage, security, cable. Most of it are already here. So you can decide to create a new one or just leave the ones that are already here. To create a new one, you just select new. You pick the item type that you want, the service, the revenue item type. It can be a service, stock, or that. The name, do you do it periodically? Is it a utility service? For example, I can decide that it is a Wi-Fi and it's a utility service. So this is Wi-Fi to the units. So how much do you charge the Wi-Fi, for example? Maybe 1,500. Which income account does it go to? It should be other income account. Of course, there's no tax at that point. Then you just save it. When you save it, you'll see it added here as a Wi-Fi that costs 1,500. If you see some of the sale prices are not here, then you can just edit them. They don't have the sale. Like how much do you charge the garbage? If you're the one charging the garbage, but if it is being provided by other providers, then there is no need for that. You only add the revenue items that you are dealing in. So after setting up your company, your chart of accounts, then the next thing is we now want to start dealing with the landlords, adding the landlord, adding the tenant, adding the property, and all that. So that is basically one of the ways that we deal with QuickTalk. So the next stage is we start from the hierarchy. Of course, we have the landlords. I have the first landlord, which is by default. You can decide to edit it or leave it or delete it. Of course, when the system is installed, it will be with a blank one. But we can just create a new landlord. So the landlord could be called landlord A. Just give the surname landlord A. The first name is also landlord. Then the ID number, the landlord. Their trading name, maybe they are called, I can call it landlord. Landlord agents. So is the landlord registered for VAT? You can say yes. What is their financial debt? They provide that. Where are they located? Like they are located in Afia House, Afia Road. Their website, all that, so that you can be communicated. Then you can just leave these ones at default. The payables and the receivable, just leave them as default. So they're in Nairobi as your town. You can use tabs to move through all this. You can just use tabs. Then what is their postal code? Then the estate where they are found, maybe Kileleshwa, that. Then you always see the second tab, which is their bank account. Like when you are receiving monies from this specific landlord, you receive them from Coop Bank. Then you put the account number. The branch is let's say the branch is Kencom. The payment is monthly, of course. The rent anniversary is 5th of the month, more often than not. Do they have an alternative pay? Then this is the document management system. Did they provide you with any document that you want to track? You can just say maybe agreement, documents. You scan and then you just upload here. So you can just decide to upload any system. It will say no image if it is a document that is not a JPEG or that is not a picture. You can add another one, maybe you call picture landlord, so that you could remember just in case. So you have like the picture of the landlord. So you see when it is a picture, you can see it is that. So you can have as many as documents that you have there. Then once you pick that and you want to enlarge, you can enlarge the document and see it. So you can save. Oh, of course it wants the PO box. So you'll see our landlord too has been added. To the right, you can see this details. You can clone, you can check the properties under that landlord, you can manage. So details is basically when you want to edit, it can be viewing the details that you have just entered. Maybe you want to edit, you didn't write the right surname and all that, you can change that. You want to add another image, you can do that. Clone is basically creating a copy but a new one. Maybe the landlord shared the same thing, the only difference is the PO box and all that. You can decide to clone. So when you clone, basically you are editing but creating a new one if the details are almost the same. Properties is basically showing you, do they have any property? So it will tell you no property available for the selected landlord. Do you want to add a property? Then you can say yes to add or say no. If you check that, for example, that I added, it will now show you the property under that. So if you say, let's check the property, and you say you add property, so it will allow you also to create property through that. But the way to create property, you can just come to this button to your left, property, then you can see all the property. So it has the same, mostly the list forms, all these lists will have the similar, there's a similar kind of format, like it also has the details, the clone, the statement, the units. So let's create a new property under the landlord we have just created. So let's call it property A. Then this is property A in Kileleshwa. So what is the land registration number? Of course, these are the documents that can attach. So is it the owners? This means it is owned by the agent. It has no landlord. So when you tick that, then it means it has no landlord. It is owned by the agent. And in that case, there will be no commission on this. The agents could also be owning their property. So that is what we call the company property. So you realize if you are here, you'll see the company property. So these are properties owned by the agent. And how you do that into the system is basically by saying it is your own property. So the next, but for now let's attach this one to the landlord we have just called landlord agents. So it is a building, it's a flat or a land. So is it a flat, a commercial flat, a maisonette, a suite? So to add these ones, you can just come to tools, list, then you can see the property types you have. You can create a new property type or edit. You can also come to list and see where the unit types. Of course, we'll see how to create that. Is it held for rent, wholesale? In which estate, the location. You can also add a new location if you can add a new location. Then you can assign them bank accounts. So assigning a bank account basically means that all the monies, the bank account will be automatically selected. Like if I create KCB Bank, for example, then it means when receiving cash from this is only to ease your processes, such that when you go to receive payment, then once you select this tenant, then it will know the landlord and basically fill for you the bank which that cash is received. Because you will realize several landlords can have different bank accounts where the money should be received. Then you can just save that. Of course, you can edit it. So maybe you want to give your valuation. Did you have like a contract for valuing it and all that? If agent pays for all these renewals, then you can add on that. You can attach any valuation letter, especially if it was for sale, the agreement letters and all that, and you attach them the same way you do that. So when you are in the properties list, you'll see almost a similar. You can see the statement, you can see the units. If there's no unit, it will tell you to add. If there's any unit, you will see the unit has been listed. So we want to create a unit under this property. So just say unit and then you say yes. Or you can just go to the left, click unit, say add new. Under units, you can see at least there are now several buttons. You can book a unit, you can check the bookings under that unit. You can, of course, it's showing vacant because this unit is already let. But let's create a new unit under the same property. So I will call this one unit A. It can be house A, flat A, house number 72. What is the size? I'll just call it 1 bedroom, 1 BDR. Description is 1 BDR. And it is under the second property. So here you will see all the list of your property and whether is it commercial or it is residential. Of course, this is for taxation purposes. So the rent here, you set rent per month. So let's say, for example, the rent on this unit is 20,000 per month. Then you'll say whether this rent has a tax already in it or the taxation will be calculated based on the landlord. It's a best practice to leave it without the tax, put the amount that has no tax. But if your listings already have tax, then you can list it, and that means this is basically like 18,000 and something. So let's uncheck. Then we have this. Then you have this. Then you have this other unit rate. You find that there are these apartments whereby they charge either daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. So you can give all these rates. If someone is late daily, how much do you charge for that unit? If it is weekly, how much do you charge? So that at the letting period, you can decide on what to do. Mostly it works with the apartments or the suites that are meant for the professionals. Then monthly, we'll just do the monthly one for now. Then for yearly, maybe it is 150,000. Then we have this item that is called the service charge. So the service charge mostly is used for repairs and all that. If you have it or not, you can select the service charge, and you can also edit. So like here, our service charge is 500. So it can be 500 or it can be a percentage. Let's say maybe 10% of the rent, of course. So it will be like, if you select that, it will be 10%, and the system will know that. I'll just want to include it. Then now you have the deposits that are paid at the letting. So maybe the rent deposit is also 20,000. Is there electricity deposit? Maybe 1,000. Is there water deposit? Yes, maybe 2,500. Any security deposit? Any garbage deposit? Any legal fee? Any goodwill fee? Any service fund? Then you add that. Then now, These are the rates that we had set in the company. So we have the management commission. You can get that rate from the company, or you can provide that rate at this particular juncture. Maybe different units have different management commission. So in that case, you don't need to. But if it is the same commission for all units, then just check that and it will pick the 10%. So there are scenarios where you have like agents are acting as salesmen, and you have some commission that you pay them because they have brought the business to you. So in that scenario, you can have like a split, like a subcontract with them. Then you select which agent brought and how are you splitting this commission with them. So this we'll talk about later. Then you have other unit details. You can attach some of the copies of that. Then you can check here whether this will help you at the time of vacating, whether it has locks fixed, are they working proper, any work required, it is in good order and all that. Then this is the utility I was talking about. So if you have any utility, let's say like I had entered the Wi-Fi, then you take that, then you want to track it, will list for you the Wi-Fi. Then you can say track the Wi-Fi, and then you give it like a reference number. Maybe this is Wi-Fi house A. Once you supply all these details, then you are good to go. You can save. So you will realize that we have our second unit there. So no, our second unit A. So you realize it's prompting you to let, but if you click that, it's prompting you to vacate. Then that is to let. Now, at this point, we will decide to let or book, but for me, I'm going to let. So when you let, now this is entering the details of the tenant that is going to occupy the unit. So let's call this person tenant A. The first name is also tenant. Other name is T. Is it a company? Of course, this one will be tax. Is it a company and they are tax exempt? So these are taxation policies. What is their ID? Their place of work, of course. I'll put Nairobi. Their telephone number. Their email address. Their PO box, like that. Their postal code, where you can find them. Maybe Nairobi West. Coast Town is Nairobi also. Then the billing address. When you are billing, where do you send the invoice? Do you send it to their employer or send it to... So you can pick where you are sending them. So you realize if I send to the employer, then it will pick the place of work information, or you can send them to other person. But mostly the rent is sent to the self. So it will of course fill that and all that. You enter all these details. Then we have like, to let, you have like 4 tabs here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Data importation is basically this process of importing data from Excel. So you just forget about that. So we have only filled the first bit, which is identification. Then we go to other information. We can attach any agreements, like they sign, then they scan, you attach the agreement. The next of kin, who should be contacted in anything. Maybe this is a brother. The ID number of the brother. The telephone number of the brother. The place of the work of the brother. The email of the brother. This is important. Then the lease information. So since we had come from the units, we came from the units here to let, it will automatically fill all this information. Like the rent invoice, of course, this is September, it will pick by default, but you can change the date. Is the lease renewable after the lease expires? You take yes, because sometimes you are not sure, or more often than not, you are not sure when your tenant is going to vacate your place. Then then you can decide to bill the days stated below. So bill the days stated below is an example. Was talking about the suits for weekly. So if you say daily, then it means this person you decide will tell you, I'm going to stay for 3 days. Therefore, at the letting, you are going to give an invoice of 15,000. Then you can also realize the person is going to stay weekly. How many weeks? Is going to take 2 weeks. He could be taking 2 weeks, 7 days. So that is that. So it will automatically say that when you take that. But when you bill the full rental period interval, so you see that is activated. This is basically the normal letting where the rents are due monthly. So you will not need to fill this part here. Then you have the rest that we had set. You see now our rent commission is 5%, our letting is 2% of 20,000. We don't have a late payment and that. How do they do the vacating notice? Of course, the rent is 5th of the month. The penalty, okay, let's say 1st of the month. The penalty date is 5th. The rent increment interval, you can decide after how long do you want to increase the rent. After how long does someone give you a vacating notice? Then you go to the third tab, the fourth tab, which is the last tab. So you'll realize there's this, do you charge the rent deposit? Of course it is a yes. But you can say for you don't charge the deposit as much as you provided. So you can find that unit A had a deposit of, you see like this unit has a deposit of 20,000, but maybe you don't charge this deposit because the person is going to stay for 3 days, especially when you are not billing a full rental period. More often than not, you don't charge the deposit. So if you uncheck that, then you realize now the deposit is not going to be charged. But if you take it, all the deposits are now charged. So this rent, the rent per month is 20,000. The rent amount due is 20. Of course, there is no VAT because the landlord does not pay VAT and it is also not a commercial unit. The service charge is 2,000 because we say the service charge will be 10% of the rent. The letting fee is 400 because it is 2% of the rent. So 2% of that is 400. If there is any legal fee, these ones are automatically filled. So the total due from this person can be seen here. So we have a due of 20,000 as the deposit. So you realize that does the deposit go to the agent or does it go to the landlord? So you can decide. It can be either the agent retains 10,000 or a percentage, and the agent retains a certain percentage. But more often it goes to the agent. That's why the agent is automatically ticked. So you realize that the due to this tenant is actually 46,400. That is 20,000, 2,400, 20,000, 1,000, 2,500 and that. Then there's these two vital parts. When the person is billed, let's say daily, weekly, then you may not want to automate the rent because you are not sure whether the tenant is going to extend or not. But if it is a normal renting scenario, such that you want to again create a new invoice, you will only have to automate, then you take that. It is a good practice to do this in a normal renting scenario. But if it is letting a suit for 3 days, 4 days, then there's no need of taking this because you won't need any reminder. So let's automate that. You remember we had set the landlord's bank account at the property creation. So you will not need again to create this. So when you have done all these details and confirm that they are right and all that, then you can just say save. So make sure you supply the necessary information. You want to continue, I'll say yes. So of course it will take a bit of time. Then how do you want to print? You can preview before. So this is the lease detail of this tenant. which you'll either send by email. So you realize this was our logo, these are the information we provided, and then we said how do you want our invoices released. So it will come with the GSA, which is Galana Apartment Suites. So there's a rent invoice for September of 20. The invoice for letting is 400, sorry. The service charge is 2,000 and all that. Then you can find that record later. So if you open the units again, you will realize that now you have that field and it is prompting you to vacate. So at this point, let's say you have rented and it has taken a month or so and you want to vacate, then you can decide to vacate. I'm just assuming. So at the vacating point, it will tell you this tenant has already not paid three invoices. This is the rent of 20,000. There's also the 2,000. Then there's also the 400. And he has not paid any deposit. There are scenarios where they have paid the deposit and they have the invoices due. In that case, you can use the deposits to clear any invoices that is due. But in this scenario, there is no deposit that has been paid, no invoices has been paid. So this is what, then you say who will chase the debt? Is the agent, is there an auctioneer, or the landlord will chase it on its own? So that's by the way. Not a by the way, but we have surpassed that. Then there's a vacating for this. You realize that this tenant had already paid a deposit of 10,000 and they had already cleared their invoices. Therefore, we have an amount we need to refund this tenant his deposit of 10,000. But let's say maybe he had made some damages costing 7,000. It means now we'll only refund 3,000. But what if the damages are more than the deposit? Let's say the damages are 5,000. So you'll notice something. If the damages are say 600, then this part is still unchecked because this tenant does not have any dues to be chased by anyone or any debt. But if it goes past the amount of invoice that they had, then you realize now it prompts you to send an information either to an agent or to an auctioneer or to a landlord. Of course, that is that. I will come back to that later. So let's receive payment from this tenant that we have just let. So you come to tenants, receive payment, and you pick the tenant that is tenant A. So you will see it will list for you all the invoices, yeah? Then if you take that received by the landlord, then it means you'll not be due for any commission because the landlord received. But if you untake it, then it means you have received it on behalf of the landlord and therefore a commission will be charged, which is a normal scenario. Now, you can see this summation sign. This will sum for you all the invoices in the grid. So like if it sums, it will tell me the invoice is 46. Then you check all. How did they pay the cash? Did they pay via M-Pesa? Did they do a check? So I'll say M-Pesa and the M-Pesa code was like 01, like that. X, you put the code. Then you say this is payment for rent of September, and these addendas are very important. September and deposits for September. Deposits at letting. Of course, when you do this, of course, you can set the date because we didn't lock the date. It will pick today's date. Then you just save and close. Of course, it will take a few seconds. Then you can preview it. So this is the receipt that you will now print and give to the tenant. Of course, it will tell, it says it was paid by M-Pesa, the transaction code, these are the tenant details, this is the receipt number. that was the date, these are the amounts that they are paid, and they can sign, and then you print this, then file it. So you realize that the agent received the cash on behalf of the landlord, and in that case you find that when you come to receive payment, there must be an invoice to the landlord. So you see the receipt of payment can be either from the tenant or to the landlord. So if you pick that landlord, I think it's landlord, you'll see that there was an invoice for collection commission of 1,000, which is actually 10%. No, it's actually 5% of, because the collection commission that we had set is the collection commission is 5%. So it is 5% of 20,000, which is 1,000. You can decide to receive it if he has paid it to you straight away, or you can receive it at the time of remittance. So in that case, we can now check the tenant statement. Tenant A, you can check their statement and send them their statement that these ones were the invoices, these are the payments they have made, it was just made by one M-Pesa payment and all that. In this case, now if you come to company, by the way, now we don't have that. So if you come to tenant summary statement, you can also see that there's the tenant, there's no due that is there, but you can, when you drill down, then you can see all the summary. If you check for tenant B also, you can see the summary. Then there are, of course, there are no unpaid invoices. We have paid everything. Defaulters list, landlord property, September. So there are no outstanding balances. If there were outstanding balances, then it would basically list for you all the outstanding balances. We are going to see how that happens. So we had done a utility. I just want to quickly rush there. So we can pick the unit. You see that unit as a utility, and the utility is Wi-Fi. You pick it is Wi-Fi of 1,500. Then this is how basically you conduct your utility. So at the end of this video, I've just got, then we can check a few reports. Transaction summary statement will show you all the statements for, you'll see all the transaction, like Hanson has a bill on case flats of 600. There's a rent invoice, there's that rent invoice. And it will basically tell you all the transactions that you've conducted. Then you go to trial balance, of course, the company, which is the agents. You'll see your trial balance. This is the much you have already received. This is the much that has gone as your revenue. Then you can also check the trial balance of the landlord, all the landlords, so you can pick a specific landlord, which is basically the deposits, I think, the rent that went to the landlord. Then you can also check your P&L, the profit and loss. So you have made that profit, basically the agents, which is 400, the 16, the 25. Then you can also check the profit and loss of the landlord, either by item, like you want just to see under services, how much have we received between those dates and for which landlord. So that is 20,000 on rent. You can also check your bank accounts now, the bank statements, I mean. Bank statements, you can see all the payment. You can check whether the M-Pesa, the cash and all that. But of course, if you check, it will tell you whether it was an M-Pesa or those are the amounts. You can also check the bank receipts. So there isn't. Then you can also check any escrow, landlord service fund and all that. Then another report, you can check the payment statement for all tenants. Then you can also check the tenant payment schedules. So this is telling you basically the schedule, like do they have any balance brought forward, do they have any invoices, what was the expected bill, how much did you receive, what was the collection commission expenses and all that. Then you also have the property payment schedule. So this will list them per property, how much collection commission do we expect, which is 16 and all that. You can also check landlord statement by classes, of course. You can check rentals and all that. I'll pick that because that's the one we have done. So there's that, because I think the other one did not have any record. Then you can check your tax statement, you can check your audit trail. Audit trail basically what has gone through the system all through. So basically that is the process of letting until now you have the tenants. So I'll just briefly look at how do you vacate. To vacate a tenant, you'll go to the units. Now let's say we want to now vacate our tenant. He has expired his lease. So you realize that this was his total deposits. He has no now pending invoice. There is no. Then once you do this, then this will create a due for refund. So if I say let's say there's 0 exit charges. So if I say okay, if you say okay, now it will see it has already created a refund for all the deposits that you are supposed to refund. Like there's the rent deposit, like electricity, then there's water, then there's that. So if you come to make refund, you'll realize that now you are supposed to refund him 24,000, which is the deposit. Then once you refund, then the statement will be complete. The next thing we'll need to look at is of course, we've looked at all these, looked at all that. So I think up to that point we can end the first video, and that is basically QuickTalk real management estate system in a nutshell. In the next video we'll look at the supplies, we'll look at the taxations, and we'll look at that. If you have any question, if you like QuickTalk real estate management solution, then you can give me a call as indicated above here on 254-741-433-755 or 728-172-1344, and we can talk about the QuickTalk real estate management system. Thank you, and let's look at the next video next time. Bye bye.